Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today I'm going to be doing my September TBR. So for the month of September, I have 4 basic objectives that I'm trying to achieve, basically. First one is just continuing on with some of the fantasy series that I've been really wanting to continue on with, and I want to start one new one that I've been meaning to start forever, so I will be talking about that soon. The second main objective that I want to do is I want to finally finish my book buying ban. There are only 2 books left on that book buying ban challenge. I want to finally finish it so that I can buy some books. Like, I'm so close to it. I'm going to try and finish it in the first week of September, so we'll see how that goes. And my third objective is to finish my arcs, because I recently got a lot of arcs like at the same time, which like I always put out like requests for ones that I'm interested in, but like for some reason in September I ended up getting 4, a lot. So I want to be able to read and review those arcs, preferably before the date that they come out. The one comes out on September 3rd, so I don't know if I'm gonna finish that one before the date it comes out, but I'm pretty sure I can get the rest of them done before the date that they come out. And the last one is the Tome Infinity Readathon, which is a sci-fi readathon, which is occurring in the second half of September, so the last 2 weeks of September, which I'm super excited about, and I definitely plan on participating in as well. In addition to those 4 objectives for September, wow, I have like lots of goals this month. I have my regular monthly goals, so for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, I read 1 classic, 1 sci-fi, 1 historical fiction, 1 mystery/thriller novel, and 1 book over 700 pages. For this first section, I'm just gonna skip the sci-fi book because I'm gonna be participating in the Tome Infinity Readathon, which is just all sci-fi. So all of those books are gonna count to my sci-fi book for this month, but we will go on with the other books that I'm gonna be reading for those categories. So for my classic for the month, I'm gonna be reading The Art of War by Sun Tzu. So this was my classic a couple of TBRs ago and I didn't get to it. And this is also one of the last 2 books that I have to read for my book buying ban. So this is why it's definitely gonna be my classic for the month. I've been meaning to read this for a really long time. I thought I was gonna get to it this past week because I had the audiobook for it, but it turned out to be the abridged audiobook and not the unabridged one, which I didn't wanna read. So I will definitely be reading The Art of War by Sun Tzu. I'm super excited for it because it's just an interesting concept. Like, people in business and stuff use this in today's society, even though like this was written about a completely different sort of situation because it's about war and stuff like that, which I think is really cool. I'm definitely interested to read it. So for my historical fiction, I plan on picking up A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor. So I've been meaning to read this book for a while. I don't know anything about it. I've seen this book like everywhere, and I've been wanting to pick it up because I've heard it's really good. I don't know anything about it, but I needed a historical fiction, and this one has been on my holds list for my library for a really long time, and I should be getting it in the first couple of weeks of September, so I'm definitely excited about it. For my mystery/thriller novel, I'm going to be picking up A Fool's Choice by Suzanne. This is actually one of my arcs. It's actually not an arc, it's not an advanced reader copy because it came out in March, but the author did reach out to me on Instagram about potentially reviewing her book, and it seemed like a very interesting concept, so I decided to pick it up. It's a psychological thriller about a woman who has been abused by her husband, and she's basically at the end of her rope. She doesn't see any way out of her situation, and then she gets a windfall of this money, and basically she finally sees some hope and stuff like that. So, and I think there's something to do with murder also. There's like a murder investigation going on. Don't know exactly what it's about, but I'm excited for it. I like a good psychological thriller, and the reviews for this one have been really good so far that I've seen, so I'm excited for it. And for my book over 700 pages, it's time, guys, for The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I have been meaning to pick up this book for years, like literally years. I've had this book on my shelf for years and I haven't picked it up, and I'm just so ready for it. For those of you who don't know, Brandon Sanderson is one of my favorite high fantasy authors, and this is the first book in the Stormlight Archive, which is one of a series that's going to be like 10 novels long. Currently only the first 3 books in this series is out, but I hear people talking about this series so much, I want to know what they're talking about, and I'm just super excited for it. So yes, very, very excited for this one. So the next book that I'm planning on reading is The Tiger's Daughter by Arsenault Rivera. This is the second book that I have to read to finish my book buying ban. Like, after I finish this one and The Art of War, like, it will be done. And I'm pretty excited for this one. I don't really know very much about it other than it's an Asian inspired fantasy. I did already start this one. I didn't like the beginning as much as I was hoping to, but like, I was just in a really bad mood at the time, so I'm hoping that it just improves and I end up really, really liking it. I like the idea of what is going to happen because this is about an empire, and one of the point of views is from the Empress's point of view, and there's a lot of things going on that is like putting a test on their empire. Basically, I think it's some sort of sickness or something like that, but there's demons involved and something about slaying gods and stuff like that. So I'm excited for it. We shall see how this one goes. I've never read anything by this author before, so hopefully I'll end up really liking it. So the next book that I plan on reading in the month of September is Sword of Destiny by Andrej Sapkowski. This is the second book in the Witcher series. It's actually a series of short stories. It's the second series of short stories in that series. Last month I read The Last Witch, which is the first series of short stories, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to continue on with that series. And I'm definitely excited to finally get to the novels, which will be the third book, Blood of Elves, which I'm hoping to read in October, the next month over. So I definitely want to get to Sword of Destiny. I also really like this world and the author's writing style, so I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in this next series of short stories. So the next book that I'm really excited for is Deadhouse Gates by Steven Erikson. This is the second book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. I finished the first book, Gardens of the Moon, last month. I really, really enjoyed it. I absolutely love this world, and I really like Steven Erikson's writing style, and I'm excited to see more of his plot. I know that the second book in this series follows completely different characters from the first book, and it's a completely different place in the story, so we shall see how that goes. I've heard that it's really jarring to switch between those two, but I'm excited for it, and I like it when authors do things that are kind of out of the box and puts you out of your comfort zone sometimes. So I'm excited to see how I end up liking it, because it could either go like really well and I end up really loving it, or really the other way, and I'm hoping it's not the other way. I hope I end up really loving this one. So before we get to my arcs and my Tome Infinity TBR, the last book that I want to mention that I definitely plan on getting to is Assassin's Fate by Robin Hobb. This is the last book in the Fits and the Fool trilogy, and the last book in the Realm of the Elderling series, which is a huge series that I started this year and absolutely loved, and I'm really excited for it. I'm currently still reading the second book in this trilogy, and this is the third book in the trilogy, so I have to finish the second book before I get to the third book, obviously, but I'm gonna read this one in September. Like, it's gonna happen maybe even as early as the first week of September. So yes, this one's gonna happen, and I'm super excited for it, and I'm excited to see what that is about, because there's a dragon in the background. Do you see that dragon? I'm so excited for it. Yes, super, super excited for it. Also, I think this might be like the best book in the series. Like, I just have a feeling this is going to be the best book in the entire series, and I can't wait. So now for the arcs that I'm planning to read in the month of September. The first one is A Pilgrimage of Swords by Anthony Ryan. I've never actually read anything by Anthony Ryan, and I really wanted to. I just haven't gotten around to it. This is a novella. It's a completely new world than any of his other stories, and it's about a main character who has to go on a pilgrimage basically to see this mad god. Hopefully his prayers will be answered, something like that. It's a novella. I'm excited to see how it goes. Like I said, I've never read anything by Anthony Ryan before, and I've always wanted to, so I thought that it should be a good introduction to his writing for me, and I'm definitely excited to read it. And I believe that one is being released on September 30th. So the next arc that I plan on reading in September is The Unkindest Tide by Seanan McGuire. This is the 13th novel in an urban fantasy series that she's been writing, following the character of October Day. No, I haven't read any of the other books in that series. It's urban fantasy though, so I don't mind reading urban fantasy kind of out of order. It's about Selkies, so I'm excited for it because it has to do with fairies, and fairies are kind of partially maybe one of my new things that I'm really excited for. So I'm excited to see where this goes, and if I end up really liking it, I might go back and read more of the books in this series. Also, Seanan McGuire, I really, really like her writing. I've read the Wayward Children series, and I really like it. I haven't read anything else by her, so I'm excited to see more of her writing, and I want to see if I'll end up liking more of her work as well. And that one is being released on September 3rd. And my last arc that I'm probably the most excited for is Realm of Nights by Jennifer Ann Davis. This book is coming out on September 10th, and it's about a main character who is pretended to be a boy for all of her life, and it's set in a world where women are subservient to men, so she has to kind of keep up this ruse, and I'm excited to see how this goes, because I have a feeling that she's gonna get found out pretty quickly. I don't know if that's true, but I have a feeling, and I'm pretty excited for it. I believe that one is also YA fantasy, so it should be a pretty quick read. And now for my Tome Infinity TBR. So this readathon is set up by the wonderful channel of Tome Infinity, which I will link down below so you guys can definitely check it out. It's occurring in the last 2 weeks of September, and I'm super excited about it. The books that I end up reading will largely rely on whether my library gives me those books during those 2 weeks. So first I will talk about the books that I'm definitely going to be reading because I own them, and then we'll get to some of the other books that I'm really hoping to get to in those last 2 weeks. Also, I'm really excited for this readathon because I don't read a whole lot of sci-fi, but it was one of my goals this year to read more sci-fi, so I'm going to be trying in those last 2 weeks to only read sci-fi. I don't know how I'm going to manage that because I read like one sci-fi book a month and then I read like 15 fantasy books. So I don't know how I'm gonna not read fantasy, but it's gonna happen somehow. I'm gonna make it happen, and we'll see. We'll see how this goes. So first of all, I'll talk about the first 4 books that I plan on reading because I own physical copies of these books and could actually get to them in those last 2 weeks. And I'm actually really excited for these as well. The first one is The Fate of the Tearling by Erika Johannson. And yes, I'm counting this as sci-fi. It's dystopian and it's set in the future, sort of, maybe, kind of like that. It's kind of ambiguous as to what time period it's actually set in, but it's not set in our time period, and it's due to technology. So sci-fi, guys. This is the 3rd book in the Queen of the Tearling series, and I really enjoy this series. It's not my favorite series ever, but it is a solidly good YA series. Honestly, sometimes I feel like it might be a little bit more new adult than YA, just because of some of the things that it says and talks about, but overall, I really enjoy this series. I really like the main character of Kelsey, who is the Queen of the Tearling, obviously, and it has some really interesting aspects to the, I don't know if it's magic or technology or what it is, but there are some interesting like situations here that I don't want to give too much away because it's the 3rd book in the series, but really enjoy the series so far, and I'm excited to continue on with it. I'm excited to finish it actually. This is the final book in the series, so yes, I'm excited to finally finish this one. The next one that I'm really excited for is 10,000 Skies Above You by Claudia Gray. This is the 2nd book in the Firebird trilogy. I'm pretty excited for this one. I did enjoy the 1st book in this series. It does have a little bit of a almost insta-love situation in it, which is not my favorite, but I did really enjoy this world and the technology here because this one uses the multiple worlds trope or the many worlds hypothesis in physics, in which like every choice that you make, basically there's another world in which you have made that choice, which is like one of my favorite theories in physics, and it's also one of my favorite tropes to see in books. So I really enjoy that aspect of this one, and I really enjoyed the way the multiple worlds trope was done in this one, and I'm excited to continue on with this series. The next one that I'm going to be picking up is The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. Yes, I know. This is the 3rd book in the His Dark Materials trilogy, and yes, this one is another multiple worlds trope. I'm finding so many of them that I really like, but I finished The Subtle Knife in the month of August, and I really enjoyed it, like really enjoyed it, so I'm excited to continue on with this trilogy as well and finish it, and we'll see how it goes, because this is like a lot of people's favorite childhood reads, and I didn't read it as a child, but I'm enjoying it as an adult, and yes, I'm very excited for it. And then the last one that I actually own, and the only one that I feel like I'm like venturing out of my comfort zone with, is The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu. This is definitely hard sci-fi, and it's by an author that I've been meaning to try. I've heard a lot of great things about Cixin Liu, and it was actually a translated work because it was originally written in Chinese, and it's been translated by Ken Liu, who is an author that I recently read for the first time last month, and I'm excited to see what this is about because I've heard really great things about this book. Again, don't really know very much about it other than It's really, really good, and I'm excited for it. The next book that I'm definitely gonna get to, I don't actually own, but it's The City in the Middle of the Night by Charlie Jean Anders. This is the team read for my team that I'm on, which I'm on Team Supernatural, in case you're wondering. I'm pretty excited for this one actually, because it's a story that's set on a tidally locked planet, which I've always been interested in seeing how that could play out. So if you don't know, a tidally locked planet is a planet in which one side always faces the sun and one side always faces away from the sun. So one side is always day and one side is always night, and the day side is really hot, the night side is really cold. And if you live on that planet, obviously you're gonna live in the twilight zone basically. So yes, I'm excited to see what it's about, because I, again, don't know very much about the book. I don't try to know very much about books until I get to them, but I like knowing things like the setup there. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm definitely excited for it. The next one that I'm really gonna try and get to is At the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft. Yes, I know that one is kind of horror, but I've heard that it has sci-fi elements to it. And one of the challenges is to read a book that is set in Antarctica. And I believe At the Mountains of Madness has a setting that is related to Antarctica. I don't know if it's actually in Antarctica or they just came back from Antarctica or something like that, but it sounds intriguing to me, and I've been meaning to try H.P. Lovecraft. I've been meaning to try him, so we'll see how it goes, because I'm a little wary of it, because I don't like horror very much. Not because I get scared, mostly because of the opposite. I never actually feel scared when there's horror, but I have a feeling H.P. Lovecraft might be an exception to that. We shall see. I don't know. But I'm really excited for that one. And the last one that I'm really, really hoping to get to is Lagoon by Nnedi Okorafor. So this is the author that wrote the Binti trilogy, which I read back in the spring, and I really, really enjoyed it. I absolutely love her world building. I'm excited to see more of her writing, and Lagoon is set in Nigeria, which again is a different setting that I don't know very much about, but I'm excited to see how she builds that world. And I have a feeling she's gonna do a really good job with it, because she did a fantastic job with the Binti trilogy also. So there's actually a ton of other books that I have my eye on for the Tome Infinity readathon, but I don't know if I'm gonna get them. I don't know if I'm gonna have them, if I'm gonna be able to pick them up. So I'm hoping that I will be able to pick up more books than the 6 that I mentioned, but I will definitely be getting to those 6 that I mentioned in the readathon. If you have any suggestions for other books that you think that I should be adding to that, please let me know down in the comments, because I don't know necessarily what sci-fi books are really good, but I definitely want to read more in that genre, and this readathon is a great way for me to pick up books that are a little bit more out of my comfort zone. So before we wrap this up, it's time for my poll. So first of all, the poll results for the August TBR poll is Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. So I'll put the poll up here. This was giving a series a second chance, so it looks like I'm going to be giving the Throne of Glass series a second chance. Thank you to all of you guys who voted for God's Grave. I know, so close, only by 3 votes, but Crown of Midnight won. So in September, I will be reading Crown of Midnight, and I will be posting a review for it on my channel as well. We'll see how this goes. Throne of Glass really wasn't my favorite, but hopefully, maybe I'll end up liking Crown of Midnight. We shall see. But for this month's poll, we're going to be doing a second chance TBR. So basically, sometimes when I make TBRs, I put books on it that I never get to. So I picked out one book from each of the last 5 months or so. I think I've skipped June because I've read all the books that was on my June TBR. But for the other months, I've put one book from each of those that I never did get to, even though I put it on my TBR. And I wanted to read it, but I just didn't get around to it in the month that it was set for. So you guys can vote for it, and I will get to this book in October instead. So from my August TBR, we have Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Six of Crows duology. I'm actually really excited for this one because I read the first book, Six of Crows, last month, not August, but the month before that, in July. I really enjoyed it, and I do want to continue on with it. I just never got around to it in August, So yeah, I'm excited to see how this book ends up because Six of Crows definitely left me wanting more, and I do really love these characters. So you guys can definitely vote for Crooked Kingdom if you want me to read this in October. From my July TBR, we have Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. This is another one that I've been wanting to pick up forever. Joe Abercrombie is like one of my new favorite authors from this year, and this is one of his standalone books in his like first law world. And I've been wanting to get to this one, but I couldn't read it in July because I ended up having to give the audiobook back to the library, and I don't own a physical copy of it. I will be buying a physical copy as soon as I'm off of my book buying ban, which will hopefully be early September. So I'm excited for this one, and if you guys want me to read it in October, I'm like so down for it. So down for it. So you can definitely vote for that one. I don't know very much about it other than it's Joe Abercrombie and it's in the first law world, which is amazing. I love that world. Love Joe Abercrombie. Some of the best character development in all of high fantasy, and I'm really excited to continue on with more of his works. So like I said, my June TBR, I actually finished all of the books on my June TBR. I don't know if I finished them in June, but I finished them to this point. So I'm gonna go skip past my June TBR to my May TBR. There were 2 books for my May TBR that I hadn't read, and I wasn't really excited about either of them, but I'm gonna put one of them on this list, and that's Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. So this one was on my TBR because it is an Outcrate book that I ended up getting this year, and I actually really love the cover for this. I have not heard great things about it though since it came out, and I did read the first chapter for this one in like my YA Try It chapter tag, which was like my poll for a couple of months ago, and I really didn't like the first chapter. The first chapter really annoyed me, but you never know. Maybe I'll end up liking it. It's a YA book, so it should be a fast read, right? You never know. Like, sometimes the first chapter is not as good as it seems. Like, judging by the cover, this book is gonna be amazing, right? It looks amazing, but I don't know. I know this one is supposed to have a lot of angst in it, which again, is not my favorite, but if you guys want to see me struggle with the book, or not, you never know. I might end up really loving it. It might be a surprise. So if you really love this book, vote for it, and then I'll read it in October. For my April TBR, we have Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This was my classic for that month. I never got around to it, and I've been meaning to read Jane Eyre forever, like forever. I think I started it when I was a child and like DNF'd it after like 100 pages or something like that because I thought it was boring, but I've heard really great things about it. I know a lot of people love this book, like it's their favorite book of all time, and I want to see what all the hype is about, so yes. Definitely excited for this one, so you guys can definitely vote for this one, and I'll read it in October if you guys want. This is one that I wouldn't mind reading at all. And lastly, we have from my March TBR, The Queens of Innis Lear by Tessa Gratton. This is a book that I bought this year because I was really excited for it, and I just never got around to reading it. I believe this is a retelling of King Lear, which is one of Shakespeare's plays, and I actually really liked King Lear. I read it in my junior year of high school, and it's probably one of my favorite plays by him. So I'm excited to see this one because this one focuses on King Lear's daughters, which I don't remember him having daughters. I'm thinking that's just the author adding things to like the story, but like, yes, that sounds amazing, and I'm excited to see what this one is about. So I'd definitely be okay if you guys voted for this one for me to read in October. So that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I post frequently on this channel, so consider subscribing. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!